Hey y'all, Phil here. I was sitting down here getting ready to edit the controller, the drone controller fix footage, and I realized I never did an intro for it. I just started out on the controller and starting to fix it. So as you know, in my videos from Washington, my trip, I said that I was going to fly the drone, and I couldn't get it to work. And so when I got back here, I hooked it up. There was a firmware update. I did that, and the controller, when I turn it on, it's just blinking, one white light, just steady blinking. And you push it to see how it's charged, and all you get's the one light blinking. So I did some research, and I found out that's a normal problem, and I've fixed it. So let's watch the video all about the fix, and let's get to it. Okay, this is what happens when you check the batteries or turn the batteries on. Just get one light flashing, and if the batteries were fully charged, you'd get all four of those LEDs right here lighting up, but you just get the one. See, just the one. And I believe it's fully charged, but that's all it's getting. So when I hook the iPad up and then hook it to the quadcopter and turn it on, it tells me that the remote is battery's about to run out and return to home. So I'm afraid if I take it off and fly it somewhere, it will crash. It'll say it's out of battery and crash. But I know it's fully charged, and I only get the one light. Even though I plug it in and charge it, I could leave it charged for 24 hours, and all I get's the one light. So after doing research on the online, it evidently is a problem that quite a few people have had, and I think it's a engineering problem with DJI, because I haven't dropped this or anything else. It was just sitting in storage for like a year without being used, and now it won't charge back up. And so they say it's a problem with the soldering joint around the connector. So I've got this machine right over here, and got it off of Amazon for, I think it was $36, maybe it was $38. But it's a heat gun, essentially. It's got a little air blower on it and heat, and I can adjust the heat. So I'm going to try to heat up the connectors on the remote, take it apart of course, and heat up the connectors and see if it'll reflow that solder. It seems to work on all the ones that I read online, that they've done it and it's worked. And once you reflow that solder, it shows that it's fully charged and should be good to go. So I'm not going to I might video tearing it apart, but we'll see. Okay, first thing I had to do was take this bottom plate off here, and it takes a T4 torque screw to get those four little screws off. But that's the only one that uses the T4. Can't get this off with one hand. Let me put this down. Okay, got those four little screws out there. Like I said, T4 torque thing, and this comes off, and then next that little board right there has got to come off. There's a couple black clips, or a couple clips one right there. It's got to be released. and one right there, it's got to be released, and then this one at the bottom has got to be released. And they're ribbon cables, and you just have to release the tension retainer thing on it, and then they lift right out. And then there's 2 screws or 3 screws, one here, here, and here, that get taken off, and then that board just comes right off. Okay, I flip the little pieces up, the little black catches up right there, then the ribbon cable just pulls out. So I've got that done on both sides, and you can tell if you look and you flip them up, there's no question about it. And this one right here flips up too, but the video I watched said it's easier to take the board out and then pull this ribbon out because it comes back. And then there's 3 screws, one here, here, and here. And once those, okay, just like that, it pulled up, and then I took my fingers and kind of grasped that bottom ribbon and pulled right out. So the board's out, the first board. And of course that's the board that connects the controller with the drone, if you're using a direct connection, or the controller to the tablet or the phone or whatever you're using to get it out. And that's it. You see the 3 ribbon cables, and the guys in the YouTube video said make sure that when you put the case back together that those, you know, come up through the holes like that. Okay, next step is to take off the case itself, the bottom of the case. There's 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, and 4 right there. The one thing I didn't mention was that when you start, there's some rubber pads here that cover up these holes. One here, one on this side, and then 2 little plugs down here. And they've got just a sticky kind of tape on it. You can use your finger or a little spudger like this thing here that I've got for my repairing iPhones, and kind of just pry it up and then lift it off with your finger. But it's kind of a sticky tape. I don't think it'd last more than, you know, coming off and putting back on more than once or twice at the most. So just got to be careful with that, or you can get some more sticky tape or something. But those are just pads to, you know, kind of protect your hands and cover up the holes and stuff. So, and the bottom ones, as you can see, have got a little notch right here, and when the rubber plug comes out of there, you just have to make sure that when you put it back in that you line up those little notches. That's all. Okay, next, taking off the case. Okay, as you can see, the battery connector there, I just unpinned it. Oops, excuse me. Just kind of squeezed it. It's just a little pin there. Got a little thing here. You kind of squeeze it down and then pull it up, and then that piece comes off. Next thing you have to do is remove this board right here. There's some of those ribbon cables right here, 2, 4, and over on this side 5 and 8, and one here, right here, that you have to undo, and then one right here that you have to do. And again, it's the same thing. You just flip the little release up, use your fingernail or a small spudger like this, and flip those up, and once those are off, you can disconnect the leads here, here, and here, and then the board where's my, and then you take off the screws here and one right up here. So I'm going to disconnect those ribbons and then remove that board. Also, I will put a link to the video that I watched. Give him credit for this because he's the one that showed you how to do this, and you can watch it as well. And just remember that I'm not a DJI expert or anything like that. I'm just doing this on my own. If you decide to do this to your controller, it's going to void any warranty, obviously, but mine is not in warranty, so I don't have a worry about that. And if I can get this fixed for the price of the solder heat gun to flow that solder for $38 is a lot less than a new controller, which is $160. So do this at your own risk. Don't blame me if something goes wrong. Anyway, let me continue and I'll get back with you. Okay, forgot to mention too that like I said, these just pop right off. Little adapters, just 4-pin adapters. If you ever worked on the inside of a computer or anything like that, you'll recognize those. Now, these ribbon cables, there's 2 on each side, but they're numbered. They're all numbered, so you can get them to go back in the right spot. Like this is here, you can see a number 2 on the end of that one. Goes into this number 2 spot here, number 4 into number 4, and number 1 over here, and then under that's number 3. But the ribbons are numbered, so you know you'll know which slot they go back into when you put them back together. And just remember to put the bottom ones, the underneath ones, in first before you put the top ones on. It'll be easier. Also, I forgot to mention that you get 2 of your antenna leads, one here and one over here, and they just pop off. If you've ever worked again with any kind of antenna leads for anything, small antenna leads like that on your computer or anything else, they just pop off. So I'll take those off and then I'll unscrew the screws and pop this board out. Hey y'all, Phil here. I just wanted to make another little quick short video. I saw another video about the Phantom controller just blinking the one white light when you plugged it in, try to charge it, which is what mine was doing, as you know from the previous videos. So I watched that video, and what it was telling me that there was a different place to check. So let me show you. So as you remember, the other videos that I watched told me to flow this piece right here. That's where the battery plug plugs in from the battery to the board. And then the other place they said to flow was this place right here, where the charger actually plugs into. And when I did those, flowed both of those, nothing happened. It was still getting the one light blinking. And I put it all back together and took it outside and flew it, and
well, I hovered it until the batteries went out, and then stopped. But everything flew. So after watching that other video, the man in that video said that the place that needed to be reflowed was this little place right here. This little, I don't know what it is, but right there next to the lights, and it's right there, that piece right there. So I took out my heat gun and cranked it up to 450 degrees, and of course I'm using the small tip on it. Let me get it in play here. You can see I've got the small tip on there, so it's very directed heat. And 450 degrees, I heated it up, and I shot it, or pointed it right at, let me see if I can get this close up, let it zoom in, let it catch up here. It's going to be too close, I guess. Okay. That little spot right there. Okay, directed it on there and held it there, kind of waved it back and forth, you know, kind of went like this, like there, not holding it in one spot, just kind of moved it, but directed it right in that little spot right there, kind of went back and forth, and for, I don't know, 30 seconds or so, and then stopped, and then let the board cool down, and plugged it in, and all the lights worked. Let me show you. So there you can see, it's now working like it's supposed to. All the lights, it's plugged in, it's charging, you're getting the sequential light ups showing that it's charging, and once it gets fully charged, of course, that one main light will turn green. So now I'm going to unplug it. I'm going to put the board and everything all back together again, and then plug it in and see if I can get a full charge on it. So I'll show you that after I get everything put back together. Oops. Okay, until later. Okay, as you can see, got it all put back together. And now for the big final reveal. Where's my thing? It's over on this side. Okay, open the little port. I didn't get the little rubber feet put back on there yet, but they just stick on there, the sticky stuff. Okay, charging cable into the charging port. Need both hands a second. And there it is. Lights working the way they're supposed to, which means it's charging up. So I'm going to let it charge up until it's fully charged, and then I will take it out and hook it up to the drone and hover the drone around a little bit to make sure everything works the way it's supposed to. Okay, until we get out there and fly the drone, fill out. Okay, I got so excited that everything was working that I took it out and I hooked it up to the drone and took it out and, you know, hovered it around and the backyard, and everything worked fine. And so I'm so pleased that it is working. And like I said, I got so excited I forgot to take the camera out there with me, so I'm just making this little closeout here, and I'll put in a little clip of the drone just flying a little bit in the backyard. Nothing to see except to show you that it is in fact working. So now I'm going to set the drone there and take the blades off, put it back in its case, and the drone battery, of course, was low because from the last time I flew it, so I've got it sitting there. I'll put it in its little LiPo bag and charge it up as soon as it cools down. I want to charge it while it's warm, and then I will put the controller back on the charger and make sure that it's topped off, and that should be it. Should be good to go. So, should be good to go. So until next time, fill out.